towards the top of the table, not slipping nearly as much as the likes of SKT. But let's have a look at this draft. As Galio already banned away from Pawn, which makes a lot of sense. KT can utilize the heroic entrance very, very effectively.
Caitlyn ban, no surprise at all.
No.
So, on the blue side, what will MVP reach for? Kalista is a possibility, even though Maha hasn't found a win on that champion yet. It could just be the Jax they've been contesting heavily in recent weeks. Rek'Sai and Elise are their two big jungle picks, so I think first picking for Beyond is definitely a likelihood on both blue and red side, but waiting to see if the 7-13 meta will take any more twists and turns.
Yeah, the Elise feels like a pretty understandable takeaway, as Beyond will get either that or the Rek'Sai if he would like on the first round of picks.
Feels like his Elise priority has been higher than Rek'Sai, even though I'm a pretty big fan of Rek'Sai even into the Elise matchup. But Elise is kind of old comfort for Beyond.
Well, the Thresh is going to be banned, so both of those junglers going to be available. In fact, only the Zac being banned away as far as the jungle pool. But I like this idea. MVP have looked much better when they're able to get their hands on the Elise.
And it's only really been the last week or so that it's been available as a pick for Beyond. He'd only played a single game of Elise when he went into Rift Rivals, with Elise kind of being decreased in priority in recent weeks, with Rek'Sai being seen as a pretty happy trade. I guess I shouldn't be too surprised to see him getting his hands on the Elise a bit more, but KT, we wondered, would it be the early game? Would it be continuing to practice the Kog'Maw comps? And pretty clear answer with pick one.
Yep, there it is. So Kog'Maw going to be locked away.
Gragas would be the jungle of choice to disengage for a Kog'Maw.
Or Skarner. I think Skarner makes a lot of sense as well.
I mean, the Skarner pick is pretty standard.
The obvious
This is
pick.
like first Skarner in forever, but...
But I mean, we probably should have seen it coming. It makes a lot of sense based on the Elise that we're seeing on the other side.
Now, what we'll say about Skarner, as Skarner is certainly a left turn.
I love Skarner, by the way.
Cinderhawk buff comes
That's
through,
true.
and that means that his clearing is faster. Would expect it to be a Cinderhawk Skarner. The rest of the item build, because the last time Skarner was in meta was Ambition bringing it back with Trinity Force.
Yep,
Warrior Trinity Force before Worlds last year. We've had no Skarner in 2017. And trivially, we have a first-round Skarner. And is that KT just playing to the crowd, playing against a team they should be beating? Very interesting, because there's a bit of anti-synergy about Skarner and Kog'Maw, because usually, I guess you can suppress people away from your team, but in my head, Skarner is used to bring foes to your team.
True. Okay, Lulu being considered here. Pawn could, of course, play that, but Mata and Deft might be looking to put some extra pressure on the bottom side of the map. The hover of the cannon made me feel like it was Mata wanting to have lane pressure towards the bottom side against Rakan, who doesn't necessarily show as much presence unless he's going to be engaging with that grand entrance. So the thing I was going to say, Papa Smithy, is that if they were really doing the fan service, it'd be Mata playing support Skarner. Doubt that that's going to be happening.
You know, I'm going to have a bit more information to work out what KT's doing with their first round Skarner. Really concerned it be taken away.
Such a confident Skarner pick. You don't see Skarner picks like this, like first round, like, yeah, that's obviously like,
they're on the red side. They could have last pick Skarner.
Yeah, they could have done anything. Oh, but it's exciting. Jarvan going to be taken away from ADD, and there's the Karma ban as well, just to make sure that this build the Kog'Maw up composition is not going to be able to get into full flight too early.
But building Ian, a champion with lane pressure in mid lane, is no trivial feat. Orianna for him, 0-5 on the season, one of his old blind picks. You'll notice that Syndra has not been banned at all against Ian in this particular game. Could be taken by KT, or could just be left open and baited out by KT Rolster. So interesting to see if Syndra just does shape up to be a confidence draft for Ian in the mid lane.
Talia is standing out like a bit of a sore thumb at the moment, Papa Smithy. We've seen her priority rise incredibly high.
But does Pawn want to draft the Talia into an expected Syndra pick? It is a bit of a headache of a lane. But it looks like perhaps they'll just be going for what they're confident on. There's certainly power in the KT draft, but it is unconventional, to say the least of the situation.
Yes.
And against Elise Syndra, Talia is not going to be able to take teleport, you'd imagine. Would have to take cleanse, otherwise just die a lot.
Well, I mean, Pawn is very good at just dying a lot if it comes down to it.
That was his spring special, but he has shaped up in terms of KDA. Every time a team takes a blind pick Gnar against KT Rolster, you start to wonder, Atlas.
Yep.
About the Smeb Yasuo.
It's like, Smeb, have you been practicing it? Probably not.
He's often pretty confident to just self-counterpick himself and take Rumble or Jarvan or something like that. So no guarantees there, and it'd be a surprise to see anything but a mid lane Syndra. They could go somewhere else. Corki is a pretty standard pick. I'd be surprised not to see the Syndra with the Elise involved, but they will still go for the Corki. Interesting.
Yeah, so just going for the Nullify matchup, making sure that you've got enough wave clear to deal with it, and of course lots of late game damage coming out of these two short-range pseudo AD carries. Oh yeah, Garen, that'd make some sense. I like it. Oh, wow. They weren't going for it, Papa Smithy. It wasn't a serious Garen pickup.
Yeah, you started to wonder, didn't you?
I was completely, like, I was all for it. I was like, Smab, yep, Garen makes some sense. But no, it's going to be the Rumble, of course, because that has been left up. Lots of magic damage now coming out of KT, but that can be made up for by, you know, a percentage of the Cogmore damage. He does a lot of magic damage himself, actually.
To be clear to the viewers, this is a draft from KT that is saying, we just want to play what we want to play. They're not in any way respecting counter picks, taking Rumble into Gnar when Gnar wins the laning matchup pretty hard after a couple of items can be a split push threat. Blind picking the Talia when there are obvious counters, including Syndra, which fits the wheelhouse of E into a T. This is a confidence draft from KT, which can be a bit of a double-edged sword. If they go out, they win confidently in 25 to 30 minutes, you just say, okay, KT Rolster in rare form. But this is KT taking multiple gambits and also giving us our first visit in the jungle of the Skarner for 2017.
And I don't think this is necessarily a troll pick Skarner as well, because like you mentioned, the buff of the Cinderhulk, definitely a thing that has brought a lot of these old tanks back into the meta. And I like the idea of just basically snatching anyone with the Impale and having Cogmore roast them on their way back to the team. Like, it does make sense as far as how the composition could work.
You can do some gymnastics about almost any pick. I just think that with the way they've selected it, with the Wild Growth synergy, there's some opportunities about it, but it could have just been Gragas, and to me, that would have been even cleaner.
Yep, that's a very good point, Papa Smithy, but I'm the play-by-play, so I'm optimistic all the time, and I'm definitely optimistic about getting into the game. Okay. People are a little bit quiet. There's quite a few people in here right now, Papa Smithy, but maybe it's just a little bit warm. Oh, the adorable Crystal Spires, and that is my favorite Skarner skin as well, Papa Smithy. I'm just so happy. I'm so happy, Score. You've done very, very well.
I know you're going to be advocating some sort of Rage Blade build, knowing you.
Oh, I was going to save that to halfway through the broadcast. That was going to be the best part, Papa Smithy.
I'm sorry for spoiling, Atlas.
Aww.
Should we just spoil Game of Thrones now as well?
Yeah, let's do that. Sounds great. What the heck? Oh, did he just draw a little Skarner in that time?
He did not come to the stadium expecting a score Skarner.
That's what I thought. I was like, wow, this guy knew. Okay. Good ward here by MVP. Spots out all of KT in their early game, but just setting themselves up around the Crystal Spires.
Well, Score has played 2 Skarner games in the past week on his main account, 1-1.
Oh.
So he has been playing it in solo queue very clearly. Not for a few days, though. I see a Cinderhulk Skarner in his match history, and I imagine it's going to be something along the lines of Cinderhulk into Righteous Glory, because Righteous Glory also had a build path change, so the Turbo Skarner is going to be in full effect.
Oh, certainly hope so. He's going to take the Crystalline Exoskeleton as item number 1 on that skills list. ADD going to go down and grab a Crystal Spire for himself. Nicely done.
You notice
passive attack speed good on the W, of course.
It starts on the blue buff. Wants a harder leash than will be possible from the Rumble, and top lane doesn't want to miss experience in a ranged versus melee matchup against the Gnar, so a bit more constricted, and Skarner famously pretty blue buff centric, less so than before. I felt like a lot of his mana costs were normalized a bit more over some of the different iterations of the changes for Skarner, but still, the point still stands.
Yeah, can definitely spam Q a lot more than he used to be able to. Sort of hurts your hands playing Skarner a little bit. Not quite Evelyn levels, but still does hurt a little bit.
Those two are definitely the biggest defenders.
Yeah. But still clears the jungle very, very quickly, does the old Skarner, especially if you can get on that energized area. The extra movement speed and attack speed's pretty handy. Going to set up this Spire as well. See where the Beyond's going to be hanging around.
The other fun thing about Skarner in a comp like this is that, you know, famously, suppression, you need the QSS against Skarner. But if you think about it, QSS getting you very, very little value against any of the other champions. So being forced to take QSS against this comp is kind of like if Malzahar's support was the only thing on the enemy team. You feel like you need it because you have to respect the suppression, but when you're getting such low value apart from the magic resist portion of it, then it's forcing item builds and decreasing item efficiency. So when it works out like that, you have to smile.
Yeah. Although, I mean, with everyone on KT's lineup doing decent amounts of magic damage, you're going to be feeling good about the magic resist portion. You're exactly right. Not a lot of hard CC coming out of this KT team composition, which makes sense. It feels like the KT flavor, you know? We want to do damage to you. We don't really care about CCing you because the best CC is death, as the grand entrance is going to be escaped from there, but Mata has to use his flash. As now death, lots of damage. Yeah, only a couple more auto attacks, and he's dead. Nope. It is at least going to be the battle dance helping things out. Pawn over to the side. Beyond not able to get himself in there. So a lot of action, not a lot of results here.
Maha was smart in that he realized there was maybe going to be another auto that he could just heal mid-flight, but didn't use either summoner and able to stay in lane. Doran Shield regen going to get him back up, so not investing any summoners there was pretty heads-up play because he did have the answer with a mid-flight auto attack. Is okay, we have to go way back when, because if you remember, those matches we talk about were in the Worlds qualifying gauntlet and the finals. It wasn't actually in the season. So when it comes to an actual LCK regular season game, it was 2014 summer. That was back in the OGN Champions Day. If you guys are watching this on VOD, you had to pay for the VODs. Yep. That was a long, long time ago.
I remember actually watching that, looking for like Skarner strats. Because I was like so keen on Skarner Pop Smithy. I was a big advocate. Not quite as hipster as my Mordekaiser ways, but otherwise definitely a fave.
Something SK Telecom in 2014 summer.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Okay, Pawn clearing things out. I'm going to try to stop fanboying about Skarner too much.
He's going to be conspicuous in about 2 minutes or so when he starts hitting level 6. Just level 4 and power farming at the moment. Different flavor of jungler from Score, who does really oscillate between high impact ganking junglers and also the more farming style. Graves, one of his big favorite junglers in previous seasons. Not able to create the most lane pressure, but when your lanes are Rumble Talia, you know they're going to be winning the pushing war early. That does allow Skarner to have the luxury of getting to level 6. If you took something like a Yasuo top lane and got pressured, Skarner wouldn't provide a lot, so maybe a bit more insight into why they went the Rumble route.
Or maybe it's just that Smeb really didn't want to play it as Beyond. He's going to flash into the cocoon, but Pawn not going to get hit by that one. Teleport has been brought out as KT move everyone to the mid lane. And now Beyond is more than dead. So much damage. First blood goes to Smeb. It's a party. KT just wanted to have everyone involved.
And that's probably the first time I've seen an in-combat, basically, Weaver's Wall. You can't actually summon it when you're using it, when you're taking damage, but when they notice the exit strategy that is Weaver's Wall, essentially during combat as the team rotates up, kill goes over to the Rumble. Nice rotation from KT, but picks up the first blood.
Yeah, and gets freely back up towards the top lane as that had already been shoved in. You mentioned the fact that Rumble had the pushing power. Not going to be punished for this at all. So now it's KT with 1,000 gold lead, despite it only being that first blood that has been picked up.
Getting the gold lead in the lanes, like I mentioned, and Kog'Maw staying competitive means that even though this comp doesn't have a Protect the Kog'Maw identity like BBQ have been drafting and other teams, including KT Rolster against Jinne have been drafting, they do pack a lot of power in their lanes. Maha found by Pawn, but just going to be one side of the threaded volley.
Yeah, no, also Pawn didn't have a whole lot of health, so I have a feeling Maha, if he wanted to, probably could have gone aggressive, but just didn't know where the rest of KT was, didn't want to take too much of a risk, and he'll move back down towards the bottom lane and keep farming things up. Got himself a cull. Just trying to go for the investment banker strategy.
Does delay his first item, the Essence Reaver, which is hardly a power spike to speak of. Really interesting to see how MVP bridges the mid game. They have person we always talk about, the Trinity Force Corki, but if he's trying to take auto attacks, he has to respect the suppression and the guaranteed initiation, even through the Valkyrie of the Skarner. So focusing on vision control in the mid game, I think, will be big for Beyond. If they have double control ward on the left and right side of mid lane as the Trinity Force is complete, you can actually make your plays as the Corki. But if they lose out on vision, it's going to be a pretty low-value Corki if he's forced to stay in the mid lane. So maybe trying to crash a side lane turret and rotate the Corki to a side lane might be the way for MVP.
Well, Mata is in a lot of trouble. Doesn't have the wild growth just yet as the heal is coming through. They're trying to get the kill, and Max is going to pick it up and battle dance out, and that's just a 2 versus 2 kill.
At level
MVP
5.
on the bottom lane, yeah.
At level 5, able to just walk up. Nothing Kog'Maw or Deft felt he could do. Heal was cancelled out by the Ignite. No value there. So lets you know the 2v2. Just what the Lulu pick really tried to shore up. Not looking fantastic for KT. CS-wise, Deft is still competitive. So right now, the lead isn't growing into CS. But if they're actually able to grow that, then Score's positioning will be focused onto the bottom side of the map.
Yeah, and of course, Mata, unfortunately not having his flash, had to use that in another 2 versus 2 exchange, and good timing by MVP, because they waited until the very end of that flash cooldown to start anything up towards the bottom side, had their opportunity, went for it.
Stano sitting in a ward, control ward on top, has everything up, but he knows that Gnar has jump and also flash, so for now, isn't going in, and Score will just back away.
That's hanging out for the moment. Okay, Mata going to get some vision over the side, but Max is going to clear that one out. Good control ward there, just to make sure that they can spot any stray Talias making their way towards the bottom side of the map. Certainly a favorite thing there, as Wallop goes down onto Smeb, who gets Nard into the wall as well. A lot of damage coming out of ADD. But Smeb doesn't show a lot of fear, as he just tries to burn down the big old Gnar.
Just a damage rotation. Obviously no kill pressure from full health for ADD. Skarna's still around top side, and okay, he's going in. There's the flash.
Yeah, the pineapples are down now as there's the flash impale. Not a lot you can do to try and get out of the way of that one, ADD, and Score is going to pick up the kill. That's the power of Skarna. You feel pretty bad when you're trapped in that ultimate.
And AD was looking for a minion wave to jump to, but the timing of the gank as Smeb was overheating and as there was no minion wave for the Gnar jump to be able to bounce over a minion and get out was very good timing from KT Rolster. So that gets them their second kill of the game. Only issue now is the bot lane, and well, we talked about Xayah potentially rotating to mid lane. Why not send the Kog'Maw mid lane? It feels like Deft is called for the lane swap just because he realized that in a straight 2v2, now with ultimates available, very little chance that Deft and Mata can have a free lane in a long lane like bot.
Yeah, as well as the fact that Pawn's got a fair bit of wave clear, so he's more than happy to sit into that turret and just throw pebbles down and cut down the minion wave. Maha and Max unable to answer the turret pressure that was put down top lane, but fortunately for MVP, KT weren't able to spend enough time taking that one down. Smeb will go back to that lane, though, with a 10 CS advantage and his Horning guys completed. So he's going to be feeling very, very good. Looks like the Arm Guard will come in before the Leandri's Torment is finished up, though.
So lane assignment-wise, KT is now winning the game because Kog'Maw is getting free farm against Corki, who's great at pushing and poking turrets. But when you don't have vision supremacy and there's a second member in the mid lane, farming-wise, they're very happy. KT might lose the first turret, though. That would be a big thing for the side of MVP to secure, but for now, it's going to be delayed.
Yeah, Bond's able to get down here in time.
Your options here are to match your duo lane in mid lane, which, given the pressure advantage you had in the 2v2, doesn't sound ideal, or take the first blood turret. That's why you see Score camping bot lane. They want to punish MVP if they're actually going to try to take the first brick, and now the mind games continue. Always fun to see when one team makes the aggressive move, how the other team reacts, and MVP onus on them to try to take this turret and open up the map.
And now a free flash as well, so no flash cocoons coming out of Beyond anymore, having to get out of that Dragon Pit. So nicely done by KT, just have positional advantage, like you said, with the mind games. Ian now forced to respect this 2 versus 1 situation that he's in as well, but thankfully has the level 6, therefore has a bunch of rockets and should be able to clear out these waves very easily.
From MVP, Beyond, even without flash, can just enter lane and start shoving. And now they don't have enough information around the map to work out what to do next. So overall, if there's just mind games and rotations around the map, and you have Deft getting free farm in mid lane, advantage does go to KT Rolster.
See right now, up towards the top side of the map, it's not feeling that way despite the CS advantage for Smeb. ADD getting some good harass off. Hex Drinker completed, and Pawn's going to grab his blue buff and still be able to defend this turret. His bottom lane from MVP have gone back to base. It's going to be Berserker's Greaves completed now for Maha. Can move around a little bit more quickly. Not opting in for something like the Ninja Tabi that you have been seeing a lot more. The extra damage. Still does have a lead as far as CS is concerned at the same time. Score looking at his items, not necessarily going for the Righteous Glory just yet as item number 2, but certainly has the Cinder Hulk and does look like he's heading towards something like some Mercury's Treads.
The Righteous Glory build path is super good now. It does build out the Glacial Shroud, so actually an easy item to build that we know he'll go there eventually. Finally, the bottom turret goes down, but here's the answering attempt.
Yeah, I have a feeling ADD is going to be in a lot of trouble as Mato's just tanking up the turret. The Impale comes in and just dragged up the Pineapples and taken down. Feels like a little Nicky reference, Papa Smithy, as that looked brutal.
Certainly was, but there's extra objectives on bot side, so okay, a kill is claimed. But Ocean Drake as the first one, not ideal, but going to be absolutely free on the side of MVP, who do end up with first brick and also the first Drake of the game. KT trying to make the best out of the scenario that allows Deft and Mata to lane safely in the mid lane, though, so feels like both teams are getting victories, so fun to gauge what this means as the mid game is almost upon us.
Yeah, like you mentioned, towers traded, so gold lead as we check in, still 1,000. The score is going to steal away a Gromp and make it 1,100. Deft and Mata still clearing things out. Have to remember that any lead that KT has is pretty good when you've got a Kog'Maw on your team, because the late game feels pretty free if you can make it there. We have seen the Kog'Maws lose, though, and it was KT that was able to do it.
Yeah, the threat on him is pretty high, if you think about it. Specifically, the Rakan can do a lot of work in terms of the gap close, and Gnar also from a flank. When it comes to peel, really there is only the Lulu's wild growth, some shields, and I guess you could suppress someone diving, but that's not what the Skarner is set up for. Skarner very much is similar to Elise in terms of identity and how they want to use the pick. Get control wards down, someone face checks, suppress them, instant guaranteed kill, and move on from there. So when it comes to true 5v5 team fights, it's not going to be the Braum and 4 tanks that we've seen in recent patches with the Kog'Maw.
I mean, I think Score does have a little bit of options when it comes to trying to peel. You know, crystallizing Sting, you can get yourself a bit of a cute little stun, but you're right, not a lot of options.
Pretty situational nowadays, not the perma-slow of before either. Okay, teleport coming in, and this is Equalizer territory.
Yeah, Score looking for the Impale once again as Beyond the Spider caught, but he's just going to blast cone his way out. That was stunning. An MVP going to be able to easily escape. Thought that he was trapped well and truly there.
Yeah,
Got himself over.
You heard the Skarner laugh come off as he attempted to suppress, but now after the changes and normalization of the ultimate, because of the blast cone getting him out of AoE, the suppression doesn't go off, and Skarner not able to claim his victory.
Was able to claim the Crystal Spire, though, and should be able to get themselves the Rift Herald as well, as Mata's just Wizard Wanding. Harold is there's the Flash Impale. Another Equalizer comes in. They've got walls everywhere as Max is just going to evaporate now. Mata looking for the Flash, gets in there, finds her slow, Beyond slowed as well. We said hard CC was a problem, but the soft CC certainly there for KT as they're taking a lot of damage. Smeb has the heal from Deft, though, who's still chasing after Ian, and they're so low on the side of MVP, but it's ADD taking down the turret and the rest of MVP fleeing for their lives.
But it's also KT in a bit of a power trough, making the successful plays happen. Trinity Force just complete on the Corki, but the fight was fought on KT's terms after Score instantly peeled off and got the suppression onto the Rakan. Died to the death by a touch from the Rumble. And from there, Gnar never even found a teleport spot. Mega Gnar timing was there, but the teleport ward was not, and KT grow a bigger gold lead. We're going to see the replay, and that's the big story here, is that they go straight onto Rakan, who dies to a death by a touch proc to actually die from full health, and then you see the Gnar in mini Gnar form as we begin the story, but you can't really see a teleport ward for him to jump on. Sure, they exist, but with how the fight was going, mini Gnar teleporting in would just have been an extra kill over to the side of KT Rolster.
Well, speaking of an extra kill, could potentially find one here as ADD's stunned up. Pawn gets the flick back as well. Just scooped in. That's going to be the Flash, but I have a feeling he's not going to escape as Mata is on his way down, and Mega Gnar not going to save him from that. So Score grabs his 3rd kill of the game and sticks on to 100% kill participation.
Yeah, mistake from the side of ADD. The rest of his team was around the top side trying to take the Rift Herald. So him being overextended in bot lane, even if it wasn't a massive overextension, was likely to get punished. KT looking just to get the immediate gold, putting the value in getting gold into Deft's pockets by taking down these turrets, and that will be the outer ring going down in unison.
Yeah, completely. Ian's going to trade it, so Rift Herald plus a tower in trade for 2. Probably still not worth it, but MVP will probably take what they can get at this stage, because it feels like they are just bleeding after what was a great fight from KT around Rift Herald earlier.
And doing the team thing and holding down ADD as well, whose itemization has to have been delayed. He's taken the Hex Drinker into the Rumble, not being able to go for, say, Black Cleaver Frozen Mallet, which is usually the laning build against most melee champions. But that delay means that when it comes to the Gnar's ability to solo down Rumble in the side lane, timer's getting sent back and back, Atlas, and that means that that particular game plan of playing around the strong pressure of a Gnar in the side lane, probably going to have to be team fighting Gnar, which certainly can go feast or famine.
Yeah, becoming more and more difficult as now the turret is getting sieged by MVP. Are going to move themselves out of the way. Rift Herald does do a fair bit of damage, but probably won't take down this turret. It's not what they want. Gets her eyes closed, unfortunately. Does a lot of damage. Not going to be able to kill the tower. So Maha running away. KT retain control over this map with their mid-outer turret still up. Still giving them the extra pressure that it does provide as far as vision control.
The unknown factor of playing against a Skarner is kind of playing a mental game against MVP. They had a control ward on the left side of the lane where Skarner was coming from, and yet they weren't willing to step up and actually put in the auto attacks onto the inner turret because they didn't have complete vision. When you're not scrimming against a champion who has been largely out of the meta for the entirety of 2017, your first thought is to remember what the champion does well and try to minimize your risks against it. But in that same coin, Def's picking up farm, them not being able to get the maximum out of the Rift Herald that they traded heavily for. So the mind games of being able to bring out a unseen pick for a long time, I think are also working to the side of KT.
Well, I mean, one thing that MVP can hang their hat on is the fact that they've stalled out the game of Dominion that's going on right now, evening out the Spires over both sides.
What's Dominion, Atlas? I've never heard of that.
It's fast and it's fun, Papa Smithy.
I think it's a past tense thing.
Well, so are the KT members waiting in this brush because that's an exploded Mata. Impale does come in. Beyond is able to get up there, though, as Pawn wants to find the flick. Lots of damages. There's the flash out of the way of the Gnar, and Beyond is just going to burn down on the equalizer. I thought he might actually escape, but doesn't happen. Now Ian has to flash, but the harpoons landing from Smeb. Thankfully, the Valkyrie's there to get him out to safety, and that's going to be a 1-for-1. KT are able to answer back. A
flash Valkyrie, no less, though, Atlas. It looked like it was a flash from Smeb, but on inspection, just trying to get the maximum amount of distance away was Ian. So that means flash down on 4 members of MVP. No one will be able to walk up to this Cloud Drake. Easy claim for KT Rolster.
Yep, not too bad at all. Score with the extra attack speed at the same time from the Spires that he has locked down. Or just that one Spire. Of course, you don't get stacking attack speed. That would be crazy. Get 6 of them, imagine that. Crazy damn.
A lot of this particular series I wouldn't have imagined on the start of the day.
Yep. The first round Skarner lock-in. Love it. Impale almost back off cooldown, speaking of which, so no QSS is done. We'll just probably spell a kill, unless it's on Beyond one more time, who does have access to that repel.
Kind of the headache for Maha, though, is he needs the 3 items plus a QSS, and he went Cull early, so being able to assemble all the items that a Xayah needs to be relevant is a big headache when you add an extra 1250 gold to the equation. Featherstorm's not going to help you that much against the Impale, that's for sure.
Yeah, you just jump up into the air and then you get killed. And you come back down again. I feel like KT are utilizing that strategy we were talking about before, though. It's just score, grab a pick, and then we'll win a 4v5. Like, it doesn't seem too difficult when it almost doesn't matter what opponent you take because the amount of DPS that's coming out of Deft, and if Pawn gets a good threaded volley, is just too much to contend with.
Well, I mean, this is another one of those games that's really judged, or can be best judged based on vision line, because if KT's in an ARAM situation 5v5 in the mid lane, there's not actually that much threat. You can even respect Flash Skarner quite easily when you know what his real area of control is. But in a game like this but in a situation where you have control wards down, you note 3 control wards down the river assembled by KT, that's where it becomes a lot harder. Playing around neutrals when you have a vision disadvantage is the big problem for MVP.
Well, Featherstorm actually has to come out respecting the execute damage on the living artillery. And that means he can't even use that to try and get out of the way of an Impale. Can Maha?
I'm actually not 100% sure how early you need to Featherstorm for it to not apply the suppression effect, given what we saw from the Blast Cone before.
Yeah, well,
it makes you untargetable, so I imagine it works, but that's, for some reason, I haven't seen so much of the Skarner-Xayah interaction in competitive play or in my solo queue games, Atlas.
Really? You didn't see that back in 2014 when Skarner was last played here in the LCK? There's a big Gnar on the bottom side, as there's the wallop onto Pawn as well. Marta's making his way down, but Max is here as well, evening out the odds. Beyond Maha a little bit too far away, and that is just going to be the disengage. Everything's fine on both sides.
It's an ultimate being used, as the Black Cleaver's already significant cooldown reduction. KT continue to step up. They continue to put down vision, largely controlling the area around Baron, their next big target on the Rift, as the Righteous Glory we spoke about is complete.
Yeah, done. Turbo Skarner, well and truly back in action.
But you have to admit that while Righteous Glory, never been a better time to build it, feeling really good. I guess maybe when it gave an AoE. I guess back in the day when we had Shirelias, that was perhaps slightly better than what Righteous Glory represents.
I feel like Score should be an Olaf then, though.
But the other core item for a Skarner was always that Banshee Veil, and that's now an item he can't really put together.
AP Skarner still works, doesn't it? He doesn't have quite as many AP scalings, unfortunately, due to the change to his Q.
The mana tank version, I think, was probably the best for him, as he has mana problems as the game goes on, and then the no mana version was still very great tankiness for a Skarner, but the ability power laden version means that Spell Shield no longer really accessible. Probably going to be something else, and maybe the Spirit Visage will have to be the purchase from Score.
Well, Spectre's Cowl would be giving that one away. Something like the Abyssal Mask, also a good pickup for Skarner, given his mixed damage ways and the amount of magic damage on this KT lineup.
Score's being very conspicuous now.
Yeah, just wandering over a ward. Oh, it's just such an adorable skin, Papa Smithy. No skin problems this game. None at all. It's all just skin victories.
Trying to pile on the farm. He's actually gone for a Last Whisper, so maybe the Infinity Edge will be delayed quite significantly, or he will try to play out fights without a QSS, which is possible if the initiation is on the terms of MVP, but increasingly looking unlikely, given how the map has largely been controlled by KT in recent moments.
And also, I mean, you're not exactly the highest range champion as well on the Xayah. Often the Featherstorm can be relied on, but I just feel against the Impale, you don't want to be without QSS. So we're going to grab Crystal Spire once again. I believe that's 5-1. This game of Dominion's going to be over very, very soon. I don't quite remember the number it was supposed to tick up to. Was it 500?
You know, I didn't play that much Dominion, Atlas.
Didn't you?
No.
I wanted to find a map where Akali was relevant. So I found Dominion about a year ago.
We have once had a Dominion caster on staff at OGN, as Chobra was a big Dominion caster, actually.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I did not know. I didn't know that Dominion was...
If any of our viewers want to know more about Dominion, do tweet at Will Chobra.
Definitely a good idea. He'll tell you all that you need to know.
Bit of free damage taken by Death. Control Ward no longer on the pit means they're having a bit more struggle dealing with vision, and KT had been roaming with their bot lane, so we'll just go answer the wave put down. Feels like we're in a bit of a holding pattern. Items not there for Death just yet. Was that one item was he went QSS. Interesting to see the rapid fire cannon, so a bit more of a sieging build and about the first order rather than the Hurricane that has been the standard for Kog'Maw for a long time.
That is going to be a lot of range when he puts down the Bioarcane Barrage as well, if he's energized. So I can understand the thought process. Weaver's Wall going to come in, though. They're looking for Maha. Has to flash. Get himself out of the way.
Didn't want to find out if he maybe bounced the wrong way or not. That was looking like a bit of a line ball one.
Yep. Also, didn't want to use the Featherstorm to see whether he could just glide over it. I don't think that works.
It's one of those situations that in hindsight, maybe he would have been smarter to hold on to his flash. He will be no flash Xayah in a team fight coming up.
No flash, no QSS Xayah as well. Big problem. Not for KT. They'll grab their second Cloud Drake, moving a little bit quicker. Definitely, if you've got a Kog'Maw on your team, you don't want to be going fast, so I like that. Of course, Armada going to be helping there as well. Now, KT could possibly look towards this Baron if they want to. They've got a lot of vision everywhere. Score's position is known by MVP, so they're not too worried about any Baron pressure right now.
It's starting to have a backup win condition in a multiple stack Elder Dragon. One more spawn of the regular Drakes first, though. It will be Ocean coming up in about 5 minutes' time.
Oh, man. We've got an overcast day of dragons.
No mountains that would have significantly helped KT, who've had the vision supremacy around the Baron for the past 5 minutes or so. They're waiting for a face check, not getting one yet, but a lot of damage from Deft.
Yeah, I think that's why the rapid fire cannon came in. Maha took so much damage. There's going to be the slow. He's not even going to use the impale, doesn't need it, and that's just too easy. As soon as Featherstorm's done, the fact that that flash wasn't there means easy pickings, and now 5 versus 4. Free Baron should be the case for KT.
Yeah, they turn around Baron. They also can always peel and have the equalizer a big threat depending on the area of attack that MVP used to approach the objective. KT haven't started it yet. They were looking for a face check for one of those equalizer plays like I mentioned. But for now, they started off. Score is very tanky, so they can peel off quite easily.
And look at Smeb's positioning as well. Wants to get himself in for a flanking play. Doesn't want Max to be able to do anything as there's the equalizer. They're not going to take the Baron. They're actually looking for the turn as Ian throws down his own miniature equalizer in the package. And KT are going to back away. So successful disengage by MVP, but maybe a little bit more respectful than KT needed to be. Could have potentially just taken that one away.
Beyond's the same level. On Elise had flash up. There was a lot of chance there'd be some sort of contest, so you understand the logic from KT, and also they don't really have an imminent danger of being outscaled necessarily. There are some things that MVP's comp does better than KT's as the game goes on, but some confidence in the process.
Yeah.
And just peeling off the next time and getting a bigger advantage. No real big headache there for KT Rolster.
Well, Score's going to go back to base as well. We'll see what he decides to pick up with this Spectre's Cowl. Will be the Adaptive Helm to come in for the Skarner. Not able to afford anything else, so we won't get any peeks into what he's going to be completing next, as Deft has a BF sword, actually. Might be the Infinity Edge item number 3, which is definitely a different tack for the Kog'Maw to be picking up. Often the Hurricane into the Rage Blades, the opportunity, and I'm going to shed a small tear. The loss of the Rage Blade item number 2/3.
Yeah, the Rage Blade has been pretty commonplace in recent days, but it feels like Kog'Maw items change meta quite frequently.
Yeah.
It feels like for 2 weeks, people are like, well, Rage Blade 2nd or 3rd, and then Rage Blade's not built for a while. It's just the way it goes with the groupthink there. I think a lot of players are feel players. They play the Rage Blade, they know exactly how much damage it is, and they stick with it, and then they see another option and consider changing. It does go through trends.
And Deft has been doing things like this as well, where he's chasing after people for a couple of pot shots and waiting in behind vision. So, I mean, a Rage Blade's not going to stack up like that. You need to hit him 8 times for that one to work. So, not necessarily sitting there sieging, hitting a minion wave, and then charging it up in order to take down his foes. It's more, I want power immediately so I can kill people out of nowhere.
You see the Skarner, you think, okay, we've got some pick options, and instant damage is stronger than the Rage Blade stacking up when you're trying to take someone down, or even stronger for the Bio-Arcane Barrage if someone's trying to get out. There is great mobility, as we can see on the side of MVP, so track your logic could very much be the consideration there, Atlas.
Yeah. But I think the feel fact is probably more to the point. Deft is certainly one of those players. If he likes a build, he likes a build. As Mata and Deft waiting to try and get a flank in here. Only 3 versus 2 as Beyond takes a lot of damage, but in comes Smeb. Wants to find the equalizer, really good position. As Maha has to just walk all the way down, it takes half his health bar, and in comes Pawn. There's the flick, and it's going to be avoided by Maha, but the ultimate not doing a whole lot of damage as KT have them about where they want, and Beyond's going to be the first one to go down as Deft is at full health. Not a lot of mana, but he just needs the auto attacks to make things happen. There's the scoop onto ADD. He's going to have his own scoop back, but it's the double kill for Deft, as they now have 2 on the board and haven't lost anyone.
Such a pleasure to have the 2 best Rumble players in the world playing this week. So Marin yesterday lighting up the Rift, and Smeb so smart. He knew exactly where they had to go, and understanding how a fight will play out seconds beforehand is what you need for equalizer positioning. Had the equalizer overheating to control space on the outside as well. This time the smite is down, and this time it'll be Baron for KT Rolster.
Yeah, it was just a fantastic flanking play there as well, because with Pawn making his way in at exactly the right time with the Weave as well, nowhere for MVP to go. They were just corralled and destroyed. And we're going to have a look at that one again. That is the dream. Maha takes half of his health bar from those
there's
pineapples.
nothing Maha can do. This time we see Pawn come in, and then watch how the fight plays out, because, okay, Beyond will die. That part is guaranteed. Maybe it would always be a Baron. But Smeb is being respectful. He doesn't want to jump in to free damage. And on the outside, when there could be burst, when there could have been a Mega Knot into the wall transformation, just equalizer, so not equalizer, just the overheated Flame Spitter with the Zonias, controls the space, they get the kill, now they get the Baron. Took a second time. The first time they weren't able to secure that objective. This time they have it, and KT looking to break the base with this Baron.
Yeah, one replay, and that Baron gets evaporated, and that might have something to do with the Infinity Edge now in Deft's back pocket. This is a very, very strong Kog'Maw. 3 items, no matter what you've got. It's pretty ridiculous. He's now tanking up the turret. In goes Max. The flash had to be used there. Gets Pawn out of the way. Deft uses his at the same time. Both carries now without that defensive option.
Trying to make a hard engage while Smeb and Score were bot lane, but get some summoners and a QSS, but nothing else.
Okay, he gets walloped. Now smacked against the wall. Smeb might want to try and find himself a turret. The Score is able to just tank up everything. There's the Weaver's Wall in. Gets himself out. Could be fine, and KT just utilized this to move back towards the mid lane. They have all of the vision, inside track, so these inner turrets should fall relatively easily. Good knock up there, as Deft should be in trouble, almost able to respond as ADD's in trouble. In goes in. It's a double kill now for Maha, as MVP are fighting back nicely, and that will stall this Baron play out. Nice.
Yeah, mistake from Score. He didn't notice the QSS was completed onto Maha. Went in for the ultimate and was just taken down, DPS down pretty instantly. So KT didn't need to overextend. They'd already gotten the extra objective in the mid lane. Looks like they'll be able to back away. Rakan going to be walking over to face check, but I imagine it's going to be too late for the Ocean Drake.
Yeah, Maha in vision in the mid lane there as well. Still doesn't have his Infinity Edge like you were talking about. Lord Dominic's Regard completed before that one even gets started. Does have the QSS, was able to use that in the last river fight as well. Keep himself up, so good that he actually decided to buy it in the end, even if it may not have necessarily been as early as we could have hoped for.
There's certainly not complete inevitability about how this game will play out. While KT have made the smart decision multiple times over, you'll notice the gold lead is really nothing to write home about. But 34 minutes into the game, just about 3,500 gold. CS value is pretty strong for the side of MVP. It may not be the highest damage Xayah build, but it still is 4 items onto Xayah. And now the Mercurial Scimitar to answer the threat of the Impale coming through from Score. While things are looking good for KT, not willing to do anything more than pencil in an advantage. They still have not broken the base, and that's kind of their big objective.
Yeah, we also know that Xayah now with Lifesteal is going to be feeling a lot better. Mercurial Scimitar offering that one, of course. Just having flashbacks, Papa Smithy, to Xayah's sitting there like a turret, getting more health back than they're taking.
Really the only diver on the side of KT is going to be Skarner, and alone can struggle trying to get the picks he wants in the late game. We'll have to adjust target selection now.
Looks like Deft thinks that he's a diver. Here's the teleport. Big flank deep. Coming in from ADD.
He's got
yeah,
a
exactly
good
right.
Narbar, though.
Yeah, great position. Smeb's going to move himself over. He is in vision, though, as ADD moves himself towards the backline. Gets the jump in as Deft's in trouble. Ian picks up that kill. It's another good equalizer as Ian's just going to melt to death. Smeb grabs it. Look at the AoE. My God, KT are ripping them up. It looks like he can kill the Kog'Maw, but who cares? Smeb's just got the damage himself. Pawn there at the same time. There's the flick onto the Gnar. And KT, they leave one alive, but Beyond has to slink back to the base.
Yeah, Kog'Maw's AoE true damage as Smeb and Pawn
that was what that was.
were putting on consistent damage themselves. It was really a triumvirate there, Atlas, because there was a lot of
actual Acathian surprise.
It was, and a lot of threaded volley damage from the Taliyah as the Rumble came in overheated was the big story. They found consistent damage even when Kog'Maw was the first one to go down. The magic resist purchases are there for MVP, but sometimes just the accumulation of damage on the side of KT, and this time they break the base.
Yep, terrifying. So they will be able to take down the inhibitor there as well, and next dragon will be the Elder. It's not going to be up for a few minutes. But still, having that top inhibitor down means that someone has to be a long way away from that Elder Dragon pit.
And this is what's possible with Kog'Maw comps when it's not just Galio mid lane, Jarvan, or a Peel tank top lane. When you go for a comp like this where there is consistent damage from mid and top, Taliyah does put out a lot of damage through fights, then it is possible to keep going. Remember, Taliyah and Rumble aren't in this fight during the mid lane phase, until after Kog'Maw is already dead. And Pawn and Smeb, they had their Void Stars ready already, even with the magic resist purchases, are able to put out the damage. So even though things go about as great as expected for MVP, they get access to the backline, they delete the Kog'Maw, it doesn't matter.
Well, Weaver's Wall is going to get KT towards this bottom side. Equalizer, unfortunately, not going to do anything, but that's going to be the flick back onto ADD. Gets himself into the Mega Gnar, but now KT, the cavalry has arrived, and they'll have to trade top laner for top laner at least. Assuming Score can deal with this. There's the fadeaway jump shot as far as the Living Artillery is concerned to finish off that kill.
Yeah, trying to leave the kill for Deft, but he missed the first couple of ultimates there. Just a 1-for-1 overall. 1-for-1 against the Tide and against a Baron buff is actually fine from the side of MVP.
Yeah. Okay, so you've got Mata picking up the Ardent Sensor now, so the Kog'Maw going to be even stronger. Gets himself that shield on top of him. Pawn is just a completed recipe away from 6-item Talia. You'd expect that to be a Rabbidan's Death Cap to come in for the final item. A lot of CS on both of these mid laners who have been charged with clearing out minion waves over and over again.
And while the Banshee Veil is no longer available for the Skarner, like I mentioned, the Gargoyle's Stoneplate is a new thing in the meta.
Yeah.
And Skarner does do damage and CC when he's able to free hit in a fight, and you want to ignore him after the suppression effect is over. But now with the ridiculous tankiness coming through, sure, some reduced damage on the Q when you pop the Stoneplate, but it's just more duration on Skarner, looking for those extra stuns in a fight.
And it looks like he might be going towards something like a Locket as well, as Kindle Gem's chilling there. I'm pretty sure that still builds into the old Locket. It's been a while since I built that item. It doesn't feel like a Dusk Blade, if you know what I mean. Deft, getting some autos. Just testing the waters though, as ADD moving himself over, clearing out some vision, and KT do want to defend this. Control ward stays up. Baron up as well. Elder Drake will be done in 45 seconds. It's just a matter of waiting game as super creeps are pushing towards the top side of the map. Feels like KT not forced to make too many plays, just clearing out vision, moving themselves back towards the Baron, and waiting for MVP to have to split themselves up.
And also waiting for the Rift Scuttler's timeout, because that was giving permanent vision. Is the Weaver's War catches beyond?
Yeah, has to use his flash to get himself out of the way. Living Artillery actually there, and Deft almost grabbing himself a kill. Ian, lots of damage, but Deft answering that one back. Marta saying, get back here. Walking the dog.
Now the Rift Herald, so the Rift Scuttler vision is gone. Now they know that Beyond has had to go to base, so even with the information, she'll be able to DPS down Baron, free Baron to KT.
Yep. Oh, that was an optimistic rocket by Ian.
I wondered there for a moment.
Yeah, pretty close. I mean, when you can steal it with a Rakan Q, I feel like a rocket does more damage. Marta just accidentally took a hell of a lot of package damage. Now ADD jumps himself over to the side. Wild Growth has to be used on Smeb, who flashes himself out of the way. Max has to escape from the fighters. There's the equalizer, beautifully placed on top of everyone, and the Impale will get the pick off on the tanky Gnar. ADD falls down, and now KT will follow MVP back to their base.
Yeah, and when you're ahead like this, you can just suppress the frontliner and just kill the Gnar first. It means Ian and Maha will have less space. Smed's just going to take free damage.
Yeah, he has to use the Zhonya's to keep himself alive. Good shields are there as well, but Maha unable to get the Blade Caller damage in.
So Baron buff claimed, but not able to actually take a turret from it just yet. Can turn onto the Elder, though, which I imagine won't go contested, so still going to be bonus objectives to KT Rolster.
Yeah, but against the Tide, MVP are able to at least have control of the bottom wave, and Smeb wasn't there in time to save that turret. But look at this! My god, that dragon is falling extremely fast. MVP, no opportunity to get in there. Didn't want to do that 4v5 either. KT grab themselves the Elder Drake, will go back home. Mercurial Scimitar probably done pretty soon for Deft. There is the Locket. That is done for Mata. And there it is, Mercurial Scimitar completed. Lots of beautiful colors coming in for the Kog'Maw. And that's 6 items. That is a very scary point to be if you're an MVP fan.
When you look at MVP's side, though, plenty of CS on Corki and Xayah. So they will do damage in fights, but their bigger problem is ADD. You see, he's 56 CS behind in a good matchup for Gnar. He's also 0-7 and 5. Hasn't really found anything in terms of the split push pressure, especially. Felt like Gnar was the champion who could walk the game the most for MVP, both in terms of the 1v1 over Rumble, but also in the teamfight phase. But fighting from behind for so long means that any sort of auto attack, even from Deft, is enough to force him away. And the options for the Gnar really only sick teleport flank, which should kind of be the icing on the cake for Gnar.
Also sick teleport flank as long as he's got the correct amount of rage as well in that Gnar bar. So not quite with his items completed either. Smeb sitting at 5-1 and 9. He's got a luxury Rabidans that you just don't feel that you see on the old Rumbles. As there's the Weaver's Wall, classically used just to zone them out of the way. Deft throws down the Bio-Arcane Barrage. Should be an easy one, as now ADD was thinking about a flank. And KT know exactly what's going on. They just back themselves away. Don't let them get themselves into a gnarable situation.
Yeah, they saw him with his Rage Bar, so good respect from
Whoa, Maha
KT.
taking so much damage. Featherstorm still available, Flash and Heal both up as well. So it's going to take a little bit more than that to deal with him, but that inhibitor does not last long, and they've got another one open towards the top side. Looks like KT will move over too.
Yeah, AD's been great position to transform, but knows that any transformation is going to be basically baiting his team into a fight he doesn't feel they can win. So hanging back, he has Flash, he has everything available, but does not pop the Gnar ultimate.
Oh god, Beyond taking so much. Okay, so Deft just needs to get about 2 auto attacks, and everyone is going to melt. Based on what we have seen so far, ADD gets slowed down as Pawn actually flashes out of the way. Lots of respect from KT, understanding that things can turn very, very fast. Score wants to find Ian.
Boy.
My god! See, this is the danger. That was a Harpoon and an auto attack, I believe.
They've already learned they can't ignore Smeb and Pawn either. Pawn had to flash away. They're able to draw something, but so much damage on the side of KT.
So much damage on the side of MVP as well. I mean, you did bring our attention to that at the same time. Here's a potential fight. Redemption does come down as Maha, once again, having to get himself out of the way, uses the heal, uses the flash. Featherstorm was already on cooldown. And now KT should be able to get rid of the Xayah whenever they want to. Now pushing down at the bottom side of the map would make some sense. Take the last remaining inhibitor and win the game.
And it's actually the dream for KT, because they take both inhibitors against a team that had 4 flashes at the start of it, and like you say, a free-farmed Ian and Maha. They never found the engage, even though ADD was sitting on 95 rage for the majority of the fight. He never felt confident enough to go in. So with no contest, with almost no risk, KT break the base in 2 spots, and now feel that they're 1 pick or even 2 picks away, not even a team fight, but just a couple of picks away from just ending the game.
The thing that's really scary, though, Papa Smithy, is that there's just so much damage in this game on both sides of the map. 6 items have now come through. It is waiting for a Mercurial Scimitar from Ian for him to be done. And the Talia's doing explosive damage, especially with this build. Smeb's doing tons. Deft is also doing tons. But the combination of Ian and Maha is probably enough to explode 2 carries in an instant. So it just shows that KT do need to show this level of respect against MVP just based on what they have available to them, because this game can turn on a dime at any given moment.
Yeah, Score is the only
can find the fight.
Score's probably the only person who can shrug off damage from 2 DPSs of one of these teams for a couple of seconds, because Gnar certainly can't. Nobody else really attired for this sort of a scenario. So with specifically the Gargoyle Stoneplate and Cinderhulk, sure, he's plenty tanky, but even that has its limits with how much damage there is on both teams.
And that was actually a Knight's Vow completed by Score as well. So Deft, you can see, already linked up. He's going to be feeling even better than he was prior to this situation. Still taking a lot of damage. Weaver's Wall, once again, just going to be used pretty textbook now. Try and take down this turret. No one's over the wall. Deft should be able to grab this. Easily done as ADD's in trouble. He got scooped back, and we said this. So much burst damage potential with this combination of champions. The threaded volley needs to be respected as Ian.
One more auto
will do it, but he has to flash to get out of the... Oh, God, okay. That was an optimistic equalizer. Living Artillery not going to find him either. So Ian lives on a sliver of health, but look at this. There are super creeps moving towards the Nexus turrets, and KT maybe without some cooldowns, but they got pressure from everywhere.
Will Score actually look for an Impale as Flash and Righteous Glory up, but not using it. They're just looking to push the minion waves here. KT Rolster playing surprisingly restrained in this scenario.
Well, I mean, look at that. Smeb lost half of his health bar in an auto and a rocket from Ian. So they just have to play this footsies game, it feels like.
Doesn't really feel like too much of a game, given how much KT has already claimed, though, is kind of the issue on the side of MVP, is that
while MVP has a lot of potential to do stuff, but just hasn't done any of it in the 47 minutes that we've been watching.
And that's kind of the weird thing, is there's a sense of dread, there's a sense of inevitability of a KT victory, although...
Well, Deft is actually going to get caught out. Beyond grabs that kill, and this could be the moment. Score going to flash his way out, just going to blast cone himself up into the sky, and now Pawn, lots of damage, not a lot of health on the side of MVP's members, as KT still have 2 full health carries. Score looking to try and get himself in there as Smeb. Another beautiful equalizer as the Weaver's Wall comes in. Maha will get flashed on by Smeb, finds his way through, but my god, look at that damage. This is what we said as Pawn can't get autoed one more time by this Corki, who Valkyries forward, gets said auto, and now Score's going to fall down as well. Make that a triple for Ian, and MVP finally find that fight.
And also they find the fight before their Nexus turrets are taken down. They had just enough time to peel off and take a lot of work from Ian, who has a lot of damage, but has to deal with so many different super minions. Katie would have thought that if they bought enough time with a team fight, the minions would get the job done, but they may actually use Baron and not even take both of those turrets.
Well, they don't have Ian or Maha here to try and take down this Baron. It is taking a long time to die, and Ian is unable to actually take down the minions
This is probably the wrong decision from MVP if you think about it. Mata also is going to be a complete nuisance.
Yeah, he's just going to be frustrating.
He's trying to waste time. If they're using any damage to not finish the Baron, it's more headaches for the base.
All right, Little Ants doesn't do it, but that was so close.
You did wonder, Atlas.
Yep. We've seen crazier things. Gleaming Quill stole the Baron, Bubba Smithy, as there's a Nexus turret that is going to fall down. Finally, the rest of MVP get back. Maha's back up again as well. They at least keep one of their structures alive. I feel like that top lane inhibitor will be coming up pretty soon, but the mid lane actually fell after respawning, so that's going to be a while before the base is going to be freed up here for MVP.
And even if they can't win a full-on 5v5, well, they don't feel like it's worth the risk. With that very low health bar on the second Nexus turret, and like you say, at the guarantee of a single inhibitor being down for a few minutes after mid went down a second time, still a chance that KT can make this a naked Nexus and actually give themselves some options for a potential rush to end the game.
Naked Nexus?
Yes.
Sounds like a really cool buzz term.
Great album name as well.
Yeah. I like alliterations probably too much, but we should release that album.
Well, we've got some spare time on Friday.
Papatlas and the Naked Nexus.
Yes!
Oh, man! Get it on iTunes. Or wherever you like to buy music from.
Last fight, we don't get a replay of it, but it does show you that, like you say, the damage insane on the side of MVP, and we said it in the Champ Select. It's not a protect the Kog'Maw comp, it's Kog'Maw as a damage threat, other damage threats around, but they weren't grouped, they weren't able to peel for long enough. Def couldn't buy enough time, he died in an instant, and the rest of the hand was forced from his team. That's why KT have found themselves frustrated for at least a few moments.
Yeah. There was a time where Kog'Maw was just strong, right? And you used it as like a Kog'Maw magnet composition where if you didn't kill the Kog'Maw, he would kill your whole team.
Still probably true.
Yeah. Oh, Maha has to use the Feather Storm. Deft still very healthy. Grand Entrance comes in, but the flash from Deft gets himself out of the way. He's all walking beautifully now as ADD looking to try and find a Gnar, but he's going down so low. Can't re-engage, and Score is even going to stay alive. Maha now can't get over the equalizer. Too much damage. Has to flash. There's now at least the Battle Dance is there from Max to give himself a shield. This inhibitor will fall down, but miraculously, no one is dead on either side.
Yeah, so much damage comes in. Rain from both teams. The damage dealt to Champions chart is going to be insane at the end of this game. But like you say, no one quite falling. Def confident to walk up and bait the enemy team because he had Mercurial Scimitar, Flash, and Heal Up. Won't be true for the next fight, and they really have to tussle just to kill down previously downed inhibitors. So really, KT are struggling to end the game. It's getting a lot more difficult for them, as no longer is the power of Smeb and Pawn enough. Feels like Deft is really needed to carry these fights, but they don't have a frontliner. It's only Score. And his previous nickname was the Immortal Score, and despite having all this stacked armor, health, magic resist, he's dying pretty damn fast.
Well, it's what happens to us, Gunnar. I just feel like the scaling towards being an attempted super tank in the late game does become difficult, or maybe that was just my experience, but Score does have a massive health bar, and now a potential Elder Dragon with 3 Drakes themselves, but MVP setting themselves up. They've even got a Zrot portal as well. Okay, MVP taking the aggro now.
Max in the back line. He has flash up. Remember, Def does not.
The old flanking Rakan trying to make his way through. There's the quickness.
They got
There's the entrance. Massive flick back from Pawn on the back end, but the equalizer's down. KT still looking for it as Deft. He's once again fallen down, but MVP now very, very low, and they're getting themselves into the pit. It is going to be on grabbing the Elder Drake, but can MVP actually make it out alive as they have the man advantage? Pawn, massive work in the back line as Beyond should die to this threaded volley, but it's actually going to miss. Score trying to look for him. Redemption comes in. Marduk not going to be able to grab it, but has set up the kill with that repel. as that falls down. Pawn grabs this as Smeb has followed the massive creep wave towards this base, and with this many creeps, the Nexus not going to last long, and they're going to have a heroic battle against 4 members of KT, even though they've killed the Kog'Maw.
Yeah, the Super Minion's going to do the rest of the work. This should be game victory for KT. The fight was fought on MVP's terms. They deleted the enemy Kog'Maw with the excellent initiation from Max and also the Gnar ultimate. But if we get a replay of the fight, Atlas, 2 members were actually focused on finishing down the Elder Dragon while the rest of KT could rush down, kill 3, and you wonder if the starting call was right, but the in-fight, team-fight call was wrong, because when you delete the Kog'Maw, it feels like you should have better options, and securing the Elder Dragon, I don't know if that would have been the difference. Very hard to judge. It was a very charged team fight. It goes the way of KT. They have enough healthy members. They finished the game, but this game was a lot closer than you would have imagined after the first 25 minutes.
Yeah, it's just the fact that Corki and Xayah did so much damage towards the end of that game, even beyond as well, being able to get the key cocoons in those fights. You just need to have a massive shout out to Pawn. He got a 3-man seismic shove that I feel actually completely swayed that last team fight. Really beautiful stuff from the mid laner from KT, and it wasn't leaning on Deft. You see the Kog'Maw and you think, well, we're going to be leaning on Deft for this game for the late game damage. He exploded multiple fights very early on, and it was Smeb and Pawn that were able to carry things through.
And it's another game where you compare KT Rolster to one of the bottom teams, and for this game, isolated, they didn't look significantly better than MVP. There's been games like that against Everett. There's been games like that against Jinair. KT, they certainly do have some explosive games, but they have others like this where they struggle to close what was a big advantage.
Yeah. We'll see what they can do. It was an interesting draft. Thankfully, now, as we return to Skarner after 3 years,
he's still
Skarner.
Skarner.
Victorious.
Still Skarner, though.
That is definitely true. It was a fun game of Dominion. Of course, last time we saw him, we didn't have the Crystal Spires around Summoner's Rift. So, exciting to see that guy. We'll see whether the score is going to bring something else back in our next game, but we are going to go to